about how to navigate technology. So I think the if voice is clear, but if video is choppy, it's all good.
I'm in the same boat. Hawwa, my internet's really bad, and I'm pushing all of the Facebook Live things right now, so I can't actually see the What's On at Elephant and Castle Facebook page to see if we're actually live there. It does say we're live though, right?
Yes, yeah, we're live now. So hello everyone at Elephant and Castle.
Hi everybody, welcome to the What's On at Elephant and Castle Facebook page. I'm Nick, there's Michelle, and joining us today is Hawwa Power. And Hawwa, you've been on this for this 1 year that we've been doing this, the most times than anybody else. This is your third visit to us. I'm so happy that you could be here. I know we're both struggling with our internet, but can you introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do?
Nick, I feel privileged. Thank you, Michelle. My name is Hawwa Power. I am a facilitator, a well-being and life coach and trainer. And it is such a pleasure to be here again and again.
Thank you for again, I don't know who's breaking up, if it's me or you.
It might be me, but I'm trying to measure my speech so that I'm not too choppy. Maybe we can get some...
Hawwa, how have you been? Let's just start off with that. Unless Michelle, can you hear anything?
How are we doing, Michelle?
We're good. I think you're both choppy. So I think between the two of you, it's the technology, I think, isn't on our side today. But Nick just said, tell us how you are today. And then maybe a little bit, because I haven't met you properly before. So I'd love to hear a bit more about what you do, how you got into it, where you're at right now. So if you could just tell us a little bit about that, that would be great.
Wonderful. Yes, Michelle, absolutely. And I can hear Nick, I can hear you all really clearly. So maybe it is just me, it's a bit choppy. So, how have I been? It's been a very, very interesting time. I think we can all say that. The general consensus, and when I speak to people or asking people how they are, is up and down. In the Creole language from Sierra Leone, they use the phrase fordom grap, and fordom, as it sounds, it's broken English, fall down, grap, get up. So that's kind of the spirit of how it's been. Challenges, lessons, insights, offering, like just, it's been abundant in equal measure. Let's just say that. In terms of, so what do I do? So I kind of go backwards and probably digress a bit. But in terms of when around the time I met Nick, or when, the whole lockdown thing started, I decided to begin a daily meditation practice for people. So I just created a space, found out about Zoom, never heard about it before. And, thought, okay, I'm sure I can figure this out. And yeah, I invited people, I put it on my Instagram, and it was just a safe space and place that was very much needed. I felt that I would need that space. And if I need that space, I'm sure there are others. Just somewhere that we can all get together, be together, and find stillness, some solitude, free the mind, and the rest will follow, that kind of energy, while, inviting some people who hadn't practiced meditation before to meditate. So that was like a year and 2 months ago. And so it's still going strong. I theme the practices now, and since beginning last year, August, I was invited by the Royal College of Nursing to facilitate workshops, meditation workshops for their members. I have one this evening, actually. It's a yoga nidra, and it's the embodiment of metta, because this is May. And so May is May Metta, Metta May. And for those of you who, I'll come back to the metta, what metta is, and loving kindness, because that's our focus for morning meds, is what I call it. So come get your morning meds on Mondays and Fridays, 7:30 on Zoom. It's all there on my Instagram. I've got a post this month. We've just begun. And so life coaching, well, I began life coaching now, I think it was 2010. And I worked with a college in Clapham South, and they were group sessions, and people would come and sit in group. They'd learn coaching skills. They'd be coached themselves. They'd coach others. I'm very much in the business. My favorite quote is, "We are all here to walk each other home." And I think when we are very, very open, and, you know, we all want the same things. You know what I mean? Everybody wants the same things, man. To be seen, heard, understood, to be healthy, you know, have food, you know, feel safe, all of those things. And that also brings me on to metta, but again, I'll come back to that. And those, you know, there was such amazing moments that happens when people are coaching together and coaching each other. Extremely insightful. We learn so much from each other. I started doing one-to-ones. I have regular clients who come to me who are focusing on something specific. It could be anything from, you know, changing career to, you know, freeing yourself of past baggage, to life purpose, to, you know, practical life in things, you know, perhaps trying to move your life forward in the way of starting a family, or whether or not, you know, you are trying to work through a relationship issue. So it's a wide spectrum in terms of focusing, as I like to say, holistically, because the idea is that we are already whole. So we have to look at the whole in order to uncover the treasure and the riches. So I coach, I do those one-to-ones. I work with young people. At the moment, I'm really excited. There are so many programs that I'm doing. I work with a youth charity. I have done for at least the last 12 years or so, Leaders in Community. And they're based in Tower Hamlets. And one of the projects that we are working on is with London Youth. It's called Coming of Age, and it's a leadership program. And so the programs, I also work with LIC on creative industry programs, wellbeing programs for young people, so needed. And that's the whole point, is for me, is that even in order to become a leader or work in your given field, finding your voice, getting over the stuff that maybe holds you back, that makes you tarry too much. You know, that self-belief, inspiration. I suppose my mission would be inform, empower, and inspire. That, self-actualization. And when I'm not doing that, one of the other things that was a lot of fun, and there are so many more things at the moment that are developing with LIC, more schools programs, more wellness projects for young people, is doing something called Wellness with Miss Hawwa for my primary school kids. So facilitating, you know, PSHE work through storytelling and role play, just giving little talks, some inspirational yogish moves with the young ones and meditation. So that's been so much fun doing that, and I've had to get my tech skills right on point for all of these these videos that I've had to make and edit myself. Hooray, I never thought I could do it. And also I've been working with, I work with as a freelancer, and you know, oopsie, my alarm. I work with a role play company, production company called Actor Shop, and we do training workshops. So we work with educational system, public sector, private sector, we do corporate training. And what's been a pleasure is working with Newham Council. We've been doing quite a bit of work with Newham, particularly in the area of social services. And so we run a training program with them alongside a training program for the fire service for their diversity program. And so facilitating that is such a joy. You know, anything that serves the greater good, that, you know, enlightens myself or my fellow human being, I am all the way down for. I think that is all I've been doing thus far.
Wow, there's a lot there. There's a huge amount. It's such a joy to listen to you and why you do what you do in that journey. I mean, it's been such a big year. And
just a little bit.
Yeah. I would be really interested to ask where wellbeing obviously has had such a turn. Oh, go on, Nick. We might have to do that whole Roger and out thing, I think, between.
Go ahead. No, you go. My internet's bad.
Okay. Thank you. It could be there's lots of different kind of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical things that have impacted people so profoundly, and it's all been polarized, which is why everybody can kind of finally realize that actually we all go through this no matter what situation you're in. And I think that's, for me, one of the things that's been exposed that means that we can actually do something about it, because people are more receptive to understanding, but people don't always know what they need or where to look, or necessarily what it is that is wrong that they're feeling. Could you just explain a little bit on what you've seen in the communities you've been working with, where help's kind of been needed the most, or what people have been experiencing?
I mean, the main thing that I would say is, you know, just similar to me, you know, doing from my home the meditation, but in my community, I live in East London, and my goodness, do we know how to rally round? You know, it's definitely a good old Cockney rally round, you know, shopping for neighbours, you know, that bit of, you know, one of the things that makes me just weep for joy is when human beings are being and doing what we came here to be doing. And it's just, it's a marvelous and wonderful thing. And I think even for a lot of people who perhaps wouldn't have engaged, and so this is also one way, whether it is that you don't know how you're feeling or where to go. I remember reading in one of these many books that I've read, and, you know, dealing with that feeling of apathy within myself, and, you know, having an episode of situational depression, because, and this is me saying this, having learned this 100 years later, that's what it was. But at the time, who knows? I had this conversation recently on a podcast called Past the Orcs, that you can find on, of course, Spotify, some young women that I've worked with, amazing. And we were talking about this very thing, and where do people go and how do people begin to either seek help or get involved? So in terms of your community, and another way of getting yourself out of the rut of self, because the other thing while we've been looking inward, sometimes we've just been a bit too into ourselves, if that's a possibility. I think we all perhaps know when we're doing that. And that can also bring, you know, if we're focused and we're not focused in a positive way, that can bring low feelings, or feelings that, as I said, apathy, or, you know, just lackluster work. You know, we have so many thoughts that go around. If they're not all supportive, you know, they potentially can drag us down. And so one of the ways I know a few people in the community that they actually got involved in things that were going on in the community, even though they're with the trepidation, but making sure that one is fully protected, is doing all the necessary things to have peace of mind. But, you know, whether it's a food bank, whether it's shopping for a couple of people on your street who actually are, you know, struggling or can't get out. So, you know, personal engagement, you know, just finding out what is going on, and can I find the energy, the confidence to move towards that situation so that I can now become part of something, you know, that quells the loneliness, and then I can be doing something for someone else, or whatever the feeling is, I should say. I mean, if ever there was a time where more resources were out there, internet access, you know, being able to literally go on and find out what's either going on in your area, whether it is online. I mean, the depth of Teams and Zoom and Meetup and Hangouts, you know, and, you know, it's there's so much of that. So to make sure that we are engaging in some way, even if it is just through the medium of technology, which means also you do need to stand at a window and look outside and get some fresh air, or open a window. Please don't stay in front of these screens. People don't do it. Drainer. If you do find your energy being drained by the screen, salt baths are very good. Epsom, Himalayan, magnesium, of course, and just making sure you get some air on your face and some light on your skin. Side noting. Organizations, there are new organizations that have started up. There's walking groups in communities. If you don't have the energy or the inclination to start something, then see what's out there that you can join in with. I think that's been a nerve-wracking thing for a lot of people, actually joining in with things, and, you know, okay, taking those first steps, you know, to make those connections. But you know, even if it is that you have to, you know, try and find someone else who you can say, like, look, I want to do this thing, you want to do this thing with me, like we would, I think is a great way. Also, just, as I said, opening the window and letting the air on your face. Sitting. It's okay to sit for a few minutes and be doing nothing and not necessarily be thinking about anything. Giving yourself that time. And of course, connect with your loved ones and with your friends, even if it feels too much to go out into the big wide, because, you know, I did a butterfly life stages meditation practice, and that whole idea of, you know, being the egg, the larvae on the leaf, being the caterpillar, and then being in the chrysalis, and then finally emerging. It's taken me a while. You know, I had a meal outside a week ago, and so I'd say even from that perspective, and I hooked up with a friend who, you know, who's quite good at stuff like that. So I made sure I found someone who would make sure I turned up, and you know, was like, okay, we're going to meet this time. And so I'm trying to do more of that with my friends, because there is an edging out to be done. And I think whether you take time for yourself to go inward, also take equal time to be outward. I hope that answers the question. Long-winded.
Beautifully, thank you.
A lot to unpack there. Hawwa, you know, like the times that we've done this, the thing that really exudes from you is positivity and energy, and just a vibrance of just love that comes from you. And I'm wondering, because, you know, in my role as someone, you know, who's coming up to 5 years sober now, and I do a lot of work working with men who are in recovery, and I have found a lot of, you know, that helps me do my being, which is getting out of self. But in the last couple of weeks, I've really struggled with these external things happening in my life, and me going into this old behavior, which is actually kind of a long learned behavior too, around self-care, but I'm confusing self-care with my old behavior of retreating. And so where I would be like, okay, there's all these things happening in my life that are making me feel uncomfortable, And I'm thinking that the way I'm feeling has something to do with them, but actually it's all around my fears. So my immediate thing is like, I'm just going to go run away and hide. And I'm going to have self-care time for Nick, when really what I should be doing is getting out of myself. And I love what you say of being. I'm here to help people. We're all here to help one another. How do you maintain your positivity when, you know, something like this is going on and I need to reach, when you say reach to the window, I have to reach to the window to get my cell phone out because I'm frustrated with the internet. So how do you maintain your positivity? But apart from the things that you do to help other people, do you have times when you just want?
I think I got that, Nick. He said, do I have times when?
Yeah, what do you have times when you want to retreat and just kind of be alone?
Oh my goodness. I mean, so Nick, cut from the same cloth. What I can say is, I mean, I've been an escape artist. It was so interesting. That's why when lockdown happened, you know, my first thing was, well, hey, you know, like, I don't have to go anywhere. The introvert in me, and as you said, but also the hermit in me, the escape artist in me, the self-isolator in me was overjoyed, because it was like, now I can really hide, and everyone's supposed to be hiding. You asked what I do, or how, and you, I appreciate that, you know, your lovely and kind words, and I accept them. And I say that I'd like to say that I do what I feel that I need. And I am on a roller coaster. There are times where it's low. And what I will share with you actually, and I hope I will email it to you, but I'd like to read you something, if that's okay.
Okay, for it.
Wonderful. This is my wonderful leveler. This is my go-to. This has been a life changer for me. And this is how I surmise how I deal with, you know, feelings of turbulence.
Mm-hmm.
Or
yeah, I've turned my
yeah, is that better?
Go for it, Hawwa.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
It's just turned his video off, I think, to help the connection.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, thanks, Nick. Okay, so
yeah, we're good.
Awesome. This is one of my favorites. It's called The Guest House, and it's on my Instagram if you wish to go and see it, hawwa.power, or you can find it. It's by Jalaluddin Rumi, Sufi mystic and poet, and it goes a little something like this. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who silently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing and inviting them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
That gave me chills. I love that. Thank you for reading that so beautifully.
You're welcome.
There's
I'm going to keep my video off because my eyes are watering.
Right. Or like keep it off because actually we can hear you much better now with the video. Not that we do like to see your face, though.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to see me crying.
I mean, love. Yeah, and I mean, I that is exactly what it is, and so have it to hand because it's a reminder, and I love it because I'm reminded that it's momentary, that all things do pass, that if something arises, I first must accept it. If it's a side of myself, like even this morning, there was a couple of things where it went a little bit awry, and then even like my computer not, I mean, I've learned to not get overly excited with technology. I mean, people get in a fluster, the Zoom's not working. Oh, is it like, it's okay. It's okay. It's technology. It's also doing its own thing. It knows in its memory board or whatever was going down. It will be okay. And definitely, you know, for me, I think it is nourishing myself, being honest. If it is, yesterday I had a delightful day of, you know, bed, you know, lolling in bed. I hadn't done that for ages, watching cartoons. I love Horrid Henry. He talks about, it's all about the human shadow. I'm delighted at watching cartoons like Hey Arnold and seeing all the deep, absolute depth that goes into these. So I do things, you know, sometimes given, I can say that I don't have, you know, a house full of children. I have friends who have that, but whether it is, and I have friends who have that and who will do that with their kids and you know, be like, okay, nobody's doing any, like, this is what we're doing today. So I think it's firstly checking in. If you do have that feeling where you're just like, it's off. You know, I had a friend in Cuba who would always say, I just go back to bed and begin again. So how I keep this sunny disposition, I use the tools that I have to keep my vibration high. I allow support and love in, because I think that's a challenge when you're a doer and you're a doer for others. You can become a really poor receiver, and a poor receiver becomes a poor giver because resentment festers or grows or begins to manifest, or some woe is me, you know. So have strong people around you. It's not everybody who will be able to be in those roles for you, but the ones who can be both, you know, belly laugher and tear mopper, you know, have those people, you know, absolutely close, lean on them, lean into that. And I think whatever it is that you believe, if it's, you know, the leaves on the trees, or, you know, the worship station, whatever it is that tethers you, that anchors you, steep as deep and as much into that thing. Whether it is that is a good friend, having a good old cry. Friday was a good old, you know, cry fest, you know, went around with the tissue in my hand, and, you know, happily knew that there were tears that needed to be cried. I wasn't particularly sure why, and I felt overwhelmed, and I thought, oh, it's literally like a well that is full. It must pour of water. So not even making, you know, so much depth. And actually I was tired, and it's amazing how even when you're tired, you can think that you're absolutely losing your mind. So resting, being kind to oneself, and allowing others to support you, especially if you're a big giver.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd love to ask, all of that is like, it's just, you're preaching to the choir. I absolutely love that take on it. And it's so important to be able to process the emotion, even if you don't know what it is, you know, not to be ashamed. And if you are ashamed, allow that emotion to come up. And if something else comes behind that, allow that. And to have the support network, even if it's one person that can support you is better than 100 that you feel that you can't pick up the phone to if you're having just a bad 5 minutes. And one thing that so often comes up, and especially with everybody being at home, disconnected, and you know, as soon as you turn off the camera and your meeting's ended, usually you walk out of the office building with someone, but here you're suddenly on your own. And I think that's impacted people quite a lot. There's no like transition. It's all quite like, you know, quite sharp and harsh. And resetting yourself through the day to say, okay, right, take a minute. I've got a Native American flute song actually that's worked for me for the past couple of years. When I need to reset, my headphones go on and I listen to that song and I'm like, okay, I'm done now. And it's like 2.5 minutes. And it's one of the things that I found that works for me. One of the tools that's quite obviously quite personal with just that particular one song. Is there anything that you do to press that reset button in the day, or that other people can try that are listening if they need that reset through the day, however many times they might need it?
Yeah, a couple of things. And like you, I do have, you know, some music that I listen to. One of my dear friends, she has a channel on YouTube called Abigail's Insights, and her music is vibrational and it's beautiful, and it's a short 12 minutes and you get a burst. And I find that very rejuvenating, as you said. You know, sometimes even if I might just sit and let it play, take it, you know, take 12 minutes. If I only have a few, I'll continue to move around and do whatever next I need to do, but while that's playing in the background. So I love music, most definitely. And I love to dance. So sometimes if I feel like I've been at the laptop or been on a Zoom for too long, that Afro beat goes on, and so does my coupe and everything else. So I get to moving. I think it's really important. I love music. And I think if you love music, what's been the pleasure in this time is, you know, to enjoy that. And I need to make sure that my bones can still hit the dance floor. So I like to make sure that, you know, I'm keeping all the joints nice and supple. So I love to play music and dance. I have a garden. I'm fortunate to have a garden. I know some people might only have a balcony or maybe, you know, outside space. So for me, it's going into the garden. I have a trampoline. If I'm really like, okay, this is like, my goodness, I have been consumed by the laptop, I'll have a few jumps on the trampoline until, you know, I feel a bit slightly winded. Sometimes it happens. I feel like I haven't breathed in that much oxygen. Just taking a pause. So like now we're having this conversation. You know, the Zoom finishes. Sometimes you're like, yeah, bye, bye, bye. You can't wait. You're tapping that thing. You're like, you end it. And just taking a moment to just sit back, close your eyes just for a few seconds, roll your shoulders, take a few breaths, deep and long breaths, just pausing, just a powerful pause, because it might be that you're on to the next meeting, or, you know, you're now trying to get out before the shops get busy or whatever it is. These are just some of the things, you know, and I think about in the morning, call in someone who you think, let me just check in with that person, send them a voice note, you know, just things to, even if that still keeps a connection going, some, you know, something that could grow into maybe some communication later, you know. So making sure it's not just, okay, I'm here, I'm doing the work, I've typed it, and then now I've had no contact with anyone. You know, I haven't even had a, you good? You good? Yeah, I'm good. Make sure you get those once a day. You good? You good? Yeah, I'm good. You good? You good? Good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. No, I'm good. Make sure you get that. That's as good as a hug. To me, you know, like when you hug, I'm good. And then, you know, when you stay a bit longer, I'm good, good. You good? You good? You sure you good? Good. You might get a little rub. That is the equivalent, the good check-in as a hug, because it gives you enough time. You're tarrying for long enough to go, but do you know what? Or, yeah, but I didn't really speak to her. Or, yeah, but I'm just wondering about this. Or I've been thinking, or, you've given yourself enough time. Yeah, I ride my bike. I love to ride my bike. I think being out is important, being safe and being out, of course, but do make sure that the breeze touches your skin. Yesterday I stayed in and I enjoyed every moment, but I stood outside and just let that wonderful gusting wind that we had gust me once, and then I came back in. So I think even that, yeah, even that.
Nice, beautiful. I used to have this guilty pleasure of going out in the rain. I used to love going out in the rain.
Smells good, doesn't it?
Yes, there's something so nourishing about going out in the rain in your clothes and just getting just drenched and not caring. There's something so freeing about that moment. I love that.
I love, and I love cycling in it because I feel like, see, I can cycle, I don't care, let the rain fall on me. So yeah, I feel you on that one. And it just something about the smell, especially with fresh cut grass. And yeah. Sorry, Nick.
No, it's all good. I was just thinking about Winnie the Pooh and Tigger when he like bounces and he's like, that's what Tiggers do best. They bounce. And now I feel like I want to start calling you Tigger because I can just imagine you on your trampoline.
That is hilarious. And what's
How is
really
Tigger?
That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Only for a few. If I haven't been on there for a while, it is like, oh, that's a lot of air to be taking in. So I have to remind myself to make sure I have long, deep breaths throughout the day. It's amazing how shallow we breathe, and then become either sort of tired or slightly heady or foggy. But I think pausing for just a few moments, whether you're standing by the sink, at the fridge door, at the front door, about to start on the laptop, it's okay to take a few breaths and pause before you make your next movement.
Before I know you wanted to mention about the month of May and Meta, I think it is that you mentioned. So before we get into that, let's come out of this by like the last 14 months. We've had many different fears present to us, whether it was fear or a real fear or just fear was present. But we've had, the fear of catching COVID, fear of giving it to somebody, fear of killing somebody if we hug them, fear of not being able to go on holiday, fear of losing our jobs. Fear has been present with most people for the last 14 months. But now we're coming out of lockdown. And I'd like to kind of get your take as before you do your talk about May on just how fears have changed for people over the last 14 months and just what you have seen with how fear has been present with people and how even though we're coming out into freedom, but yet this is probably when I've felt the most fear over the last 14 months. And I think that's kind of weird that freedom is there, but I'm feeling very fearful.
I think there's definitely, I would say, is it more now than it was before? But definitely a palatable fear. I have met people who have not seen any of their family. And I've heard a lot of those stories where people lost family members and had not, visited or were able to hug them in those last hours and stuff like that's tough. I mean, it has been just personally, I have had so many friends lose parents. I can count on two hands. And my own mother wasn't very well. And, she's doing well. And, recovering is, not non-COVID related, just old people related and not being able to get access to the attention they're used to getting for the ailments that they have. Thus things becoming exacerbated and then, hospital or, further attention or sickness or illness becomes pronounced. That my person was, even that fear of mortality, of our loved ones. That fear has been my personal fear. And I think for a lot of people, death has been the personal fear, but losing everything, as you said, there's so many layers of the fear. Even if you're not affected through your work, everybody's affected on some level, or that person has just lost their parents. Therefore, that affects you and your life because someone dear to you is grieving. So I've as I said, I think I've met people who are at a very heightened end of fear, and I've met people who are being safe and being cautious and being compassionate and being careful, and being, therefore, alleviating as much fear as possible. And I think you can only be those things, and we can only try our best to be those things in order to ease some of that fear. You know, I couldn't be, I think everybody's had their faith tested, so to speak. So whatever it is that, as I said, that anchors you, or that whatever practices you have in place, and, you know, for some people for some people, they have religion, or they have a community, they have a family, or they have, you know, interests or something that they're into where there's a common bond, is leaning into that. Because we're going to feel afraid. When have we not been afraid? When have we not been afraid? And I always like to use this analogy. Well, I do when I'm speaking to kids and young people, and I think it still works for me as an adult, because it's tough. You know, we live in uncertainty period. What has been the overarching thing with COVID is like, uncertainty's gone. Hello, yes, I'm here for all of you. Yeah, everybody. Oh, death. Oh, I've got a number on each and every one of you. As my mum always says, we're all going to die. That's the one given. You know, it doesn't matter what you got going on. That is going to happen. I think the leveler of what's happened nationwide, worldwide, universally, is that it's the leveler. We're all the same. Hello. And no matter what seems to happen, and all the terrible things that we have almost 10 minutes to see, it keeps on telling us this same thing, whether you are man, woman, or, as my mum would say, whether you're a man, woman, or beast. And you know what I mean by that, as in, you know, animal, creature, plant, whatever. We're the same. There's a leveler there. There's a leveler. And so, again, just coming back to this thing of how to deal with fear, it will show up more on some days than others. As I said, being cautious, being careful, being kind, being compassionate, all of those qualities that will help you and wherever you're going out. You know, some people aren't on any of the mask wearing or anything, or sanitizing, and some people are at the other end. And so I feel like if both sides have compassion for the other, we could be good out here. You know, I've seen arguments kicking off with people because people are frightened, and other people are frightened in a different direction, you know? So you've got two kinds of fear going on, but it's all fear though, right? So again, steeping into whatever it is that anchors, that tethers, that nourishes, that restores, that reminds you, that makes you feel safe. And that's what this meta practice, now that we're coming out, we have emerged, you know, we are in an emergence, that we use a meta practice, the practice of loving kindness. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be filled with peace. And may you, and may my community, and may that community, and may our planet. And so I feel like, you know, people think, oh, what can I do? Now, for me, this meta practice brings a feeling of peace. It allows a time for fear to fall away. And the more that we steep and deepen into a practice, the less room there is for fear when love is all prevailing. Cliche, whatever. It's like, and whether that's love for your even yourself, to allow yourself to not, your entire being to be riddled with fear. The other day I laughed at a storm because I just thought, man, this world is crazy. It's just crazy. Let's just laugh my head. I mean, you know, I was thigh-slappingly laughing because I just thought, I can't even begin. And so that was one way of shaking off some fear, was to laugh, you know, using humor. Hello, humor's a great healer. And so what resources that you can find, that we can find to nourish ourselves and each other, whether that's through a meditation practice. If you don't feel like you can go and be out there with people, maybe you energetically support the greater good, you know, whether you can physically be out there, if you feel like, right, I feel I'm tested, I'm doing all the things I need to do. I have a workshop in a school coming up. I have to do lateral testing for that because they want us in. You know, I have a mother to consider, you know, and everyone else. And that's one of the big questions is, okay, I have the vaccine, and then what happens? And, you know, am I making other people safe, even if I am? We have a duty of care to each other. Don't feed the fear.
No. It was when we booked you on this day, I was wondering if you were a Star Wars fan as well.
Oh,
as you were doing all the Mays, I'm like, oh, May the 4th be with you, and I was laughing.
I was like, okay.
Star Wars Day.
Of course, we all love Star Wars. Yeah. I just didn't remember.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you. Michelle, do you have any kind of closing question or statements or anything for Hawwa as we wrap up our time?
I'm going to follow you on Instagram. You've been such an inspiration, and it's been a pleasure to hear what you're saying and just be in your energy. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very, very much. Thank you guys for an opportunity for me to, you know, share my stuff, you know, run my mouth, so to speak. And hopefully, I hope some nuggets that, you know, I always just think if somebody picks up one thing that they can take away, then that's great. And so, yes, please indeed follow me at Hawwa.power, HAWWA.POWER. And yes, and Morning Meds is on Mondays and Fridays, coaching, lots of wonderful, juicy things. But DM me if you have any questions or you want to know anything. And it's lovely to see you guys back. I hear you, Nick. I really hear you. And it deeply resonates with me. And so, as I said, you know, we just do what we can. But the guest house, you know, print that off and put that up.
Yeah, I love it. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the next time our paths cross, because I know we're actually, it's not even our paths are cross, we're on the same path. And I just love that you are in our lives, and we'll speak with you soon. As soon as we can. I know as soon as Melissa comes back from Canada, we want to try to arrange a coffee or lunch with you, and yeah, it'd be awesome to see you face to face.
Yeah,
it's been a long time to yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah, let's definitely do that. I truly look forward to that, and lots of love to Melissa, and you know, safe journeying and traveling to her, and both to you too. Oh, before I go, did you remember, Nick?
This is what I was waiting. Yeah. I was going to say, where's the bag?
I think you cosmically sent me the vibes of like, and there's a couple of times where I've gone, all right, folks, thanks. And people are like, where's the card? Okay, so So we should have one each, Michelle. So these are my wise cards. Wise cards have been with me for many years in many places. There's 170 something cards. I'm sure if you're missing by now. I like to put my hand in the bag. Best tombola you've ever seen. And when you are ready, please say stop, and I will pull out a card.
You go first, Michelle.
Stop. I feel like I wanted to say stop, please. That was just rude.
Hasn't always said stop, please. And it's very sweet, but yes. Discovery. So I like that the cards are an invitation. So discovery, my dear.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Thank you.
Very welcome. Okay. All right, Nick.
Okay. Please stop.
Yeah, the please makes it a bit, you know.
Bit weird. Go with the stop, yeah.
Stability. Stability. An invitation, an offering. The cards are an offering. I still have one because people always say, but what about yours? And I'm like, oh, okay. An offering. What am I offering? Versatility. Well, I certainly am today because I'm about to be a whole bunch of different things. So versatility, discovery,
Beautiful.
stability, versatility. Yay.
Lovely.
How
Thank you,
wonderful.
Hawwa.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And
Listening.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye
everyone
now.
at the bye. Thanks, everybody at the What's on Elephant and Castle page. Thursday at 11, Michelle and I are going to be leading a workshop. What's the workshop, Michelle?
We're going to be just kicking off the month. So we didn't do our check-in last week. We did different kind of sessions. So we're going to be kicking off the month this week with what we want to bring in, invite in, and yeah. So that's the theme this week.
Awesome. We'll
Sounds
post the link in the page, and also how I'll post your Instagram in the page too. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Of love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.